Oh, yeah, that's, oh, yeah, I bet they're good at it. About that General Custer statue. I told me, said mostly out of towners. Well, they care, they don't vote for them. Sure. Ever since I can remember, they heard Martin Luther King Bridge. I've never even been to the city. Oh, the statue. Total. Oh, well. That's what always. Sounds like, why they tear them up?
That one I'm not sure of.
I heard it let them fish at surgeons. Surgeon around here, and I've been here.
I actually caught one a couple years ago.
Lake.
Yeah.
Up the river. They said that's why they tore them down. They're on. That's a temporary. That's why. Sucker on them all. There's teeth all around. Yo. Well.
Good about yourself. Where it's gonna be. Oh, is part of that. You're gonna do the Douglas first. That would be my.
And I would too. It seemed like guess who I hung out with? Atkinson's. Guess where she was? Mile and a half. And there's only one other relative in Michigan. Lockwood.
Huh.
Isn't that something
Now she has a sister. Victoria has a sister. Monroe, there's only the two of them.
Thanks. Isn't that great? We haven't changed the room much. It looks pretty good. Yeah. What I'm using. The DDA.
All right.
You're the smart one of the
We go back from our closed session, we, do a motion to go back and close the special meeting.
Is your mic on?
Motion that we go back into regular session.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilman Moore, that we go back into open session from on our special meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman?
Yes.
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 Mayor Clark?
Yes. And we need a motion to adjourn.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilman Lamore, to adjourn the special meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman? Michelangelo?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. So just for those that are here, so we had a 6 o'clock special meeting. It was a closed session regarding collective bargaining. So we're finished that. That's why you have to go through the process to come back and close those formally. We don't have much time, but a minute or two before we start the special meeting. Then regular council meeting, and then we'll come back to that here very shortly.
One minute.
Your Honor, I'm gonna need another minute.
Okay, sure enough. Oh, shoot, I'm not gonna get this up. It wants me to verify my password, and I don't have it. Can't do it. I guess I won't have it today. Millward, I know we're close to the minute, but Clerk Treasurer Lavoy had to step out, so we're going to wait for her return before you call us to start.
We're ready whenever you are.
I think I saw it on the podium. We'll give Councilwoman Vining a minute. Yeah, she's here. Give her a minute. Okay, we're ready, Millward.
Okay, we're ready here. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman,
Here.
Ekwangeli,
Present.
Vining,
Here.
Jermaine,
Here.
Lamore, Felder, Mayor Clark.
Present. I ask we all please rise for the invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We have faith and hope in each other and our democratic form of government. We ask for your guidance in the decisions that are made here this evening. We ask you to help us work for the welfare of this community and all of its residents.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I move on to the approval for the regular agenda, it's great to be back in council chambers to see everybody that's here and joining us this evening. And also as we continue to broadcast live for those that cannot be in attendance. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is the approval of regular agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we add after item 3197, the subject matter would be ratification of the Teamsters collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilman Ekwangeli, supported by Councilman Lamore to amend the regular agenda to add the ratification of the Teamsters contract, which will come underneath council action after item 3197 will be given a number later through the clerk treasurer's office. Other items? Seeing none. Clerk, please call the roll for the amended approval.
Councilperson Whitman, Ekwangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Felder, Mayor Clark.
Yes.
The next item on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda, and for approval of payments, the amount should read $1,235,547.03. 1235547.03.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next item, and I ask the clerk for that item, at a previous meeting, a couple meetings ago, the council talked about the format of the council agenda. That's if those that have listened before might say this just sounds a little bit different. We're trying to structure it in a fashion to move the process along for the consent agenda, which usually came later. And we have presentations, communication, public hearings for a variety of items. And of course, there's still council action and then in the opportunities as we get toward the council comments, but also the mayor's and the treasurer, manager, and citizens' comments as well. So if there's so when on the item it says presentation, communications, and public hearing, if there's an item that somebody has that wants to speak to an event activity, that would fall within that realm and opportunity as well. Clerk, next item, please.
Oh, so we need to approve the consent agenda, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. We need a motion. Councilman Felder?
If it would be appropriate, unless you want to call on the audience to see if they want anything pulled.
I should have done that. So there are items that are on the consent agenda that wish to be pulled. I'll ask council first if there's any items on the consent agenda to be pulled for further discussion. Thank you, Councilman Felder. Are there items on the consent agenda that those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Seeing none, Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would make a motion that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilwoman Germaini, that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, and recommendations and resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman,
Yes.
Ekwangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Felder,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Now I'll ask for the next item.
The next item would be presentations, communications, public hearings.
So items that are currently on the agenda for this evening under this is there's a presentation on Robert Selden Duckinson Day, which will be first, and then we'll move through two public hearings. And there's a community engagements facilitation that is really communication from our city manager. So this time on the proclamation, it's my pleasure and on behalf of the city council for all of us to support an initiative that started a while ago. And I'm going to talk a little bit, and then I'm going to come down and ask Mr. Patrick Barley to join me. I think back earlier in the year, when Lawrence Buchanan started presenting items during Black History Month. An item came across with Mr. Duncanson. Of course, that was from work done also by people, some that are here. We recognized his role here in Michigan, in Monroe, but also his life achievements and accomplishments, and who returned to Monroe and is buried in our historic Woodland Cemetery, and work done by people to identify where that's at and to have placed a monument in great recognition for Mr. Duncanson. So as Mr. Patrick Barley started to gather a group of many people, many community members and artists and different groups, thought it was appropriate that we reach back and not forget an important resident, citizen of Monroe, and as they move forward in their career and what they brought forward in their life. So I'm going to ask Mr. Barley to join me at the podium because I'm going to speak to the proclamation and read what that is. So we all understand, I'm sure there's many here that have heard of Mr. Duncanson and know some of his achievements, but I hope that we can enlighten not only those here, but those who are listening about his lifelong achievements and why we're having this proclamation today. So I'm going to come down to the podium. Please join me here. So I know that those that are in attendance are behind us, but I know that means you're behind the cause as well. And it's an opportunity to speak not only to the council and to the cameras, to those that are watching, about why it's important that we have this proclamation this evening. There's much that has been done, and I want to thank Patrick and his supporters to get us here today to be able to make this proclamation. So I'm going to read it, and I think it's important to read because there's so much here, and I could have had twice as much, quite honestly, what his career is. But this really highlights the impacts not only of Mr. Duncanson's life, but his time here in Monroe and our region and across the country and internationally. So the proclamation starts as, whereas it is an honor and a privilege that the mayor and city council have been given this opportunity through the efforts of the Rotary Club of Monroe and the Monroe Art League to celebrate the life and accomplishments of Robert Selden Duncanson. And whereas Robert S. Duncanson, he was born in 1821 and he passed in 1872, has been recognized as the best landscape painter in the West in the 19th century and as one of the greatest Black American artists of all time. And whereas Duncanson was born in 1821 in Fayette, Seneca County, New York, and he spent his childhood in Monroe, Michigan, and apprenticed in the family trade of house painting and carpentry. And whereas in 1838, Duncanson and John Gamblin would partner and open a painting business, Gamblin and Duncanson Painters and Glazers, and in 1839, Robert pursued his ambition to work as a landscape painter. And whereas in 1840, he would leave his Monroe business and move to Cincinnati, Ohio to begin his career in the fine arts. And whereas he established the first Black American art colony with other prominent Black artists and artisans in Cincinnati, Ohio, and participated in the abolitionist movement by donating his esteemed work to support the efforts made to end slavery. And whereas in 1848, Duncanson received his first commission to paint the Keweenaw Peninsula cliff mines in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. And whereas his murals, commissioned by Cincinnati entrepreneur Nicholas Longsworth, are the centerpiece of the Taft Museum of the Cincinnati Museum of Art, and his paintings are on display in the Smithsonian Museum of American Art, the National Gallery of Art, the Detroit Institute of Art, and many other museums around the world. And whereas Mr. S. Duncanson later returned to Detroit, and upon his death in 1872, he was buried in Monroe's historic Woodland Cemetery. And whereas on January 20th, 2021, his painting Landscape with Rainbow was selected by First Lady Dr. Jill Biden for the 59th presidential inaugural celebration and was displayed at the United States Capitol Building's rotunda for the whole country to see. So I think that's the background. And then I'll speak about the proclamation and why City Council is supporting and having this, not only this day, this month, but this life recognition of Mr. Duncanson. It says, we are extremely proud and honored to share in the celebration to recognize Robert S. Duncanson in partnership with the Rotary Club of Monroe, the Monroe Art League, national and international museums, art and historical societies, including the cities of Fayette, New York, and Cincinnati, Ohio, through a multi-state project to honor Robert S. Duncanson in 2021 and 2022. Now therefore, I, Robert E. Clark, Mayor of the City of Monroe, in full support of City Council, do hereby proclaim July 6, 2021 as Robert Selden Duncanson Day in Monroe. And we take this opportunity to bring awareness and recognition of his life, achievements, and accomplishments of Duncanson throughout the month of July. Be it further resolved that this proclamation of respect and honor be recorded in the proceedings of the City Council, where all citizens of Monroe can read about the accomplishments of one of Monroe's distinguished citizens, and with a list of supporting businesses, organizations, artists, distinguished persons be affixed to this proclamation. So the last part at the proclamation, it talks about the list of dignitaries and distinguished people, businesses, organizations. And I want to personally thank and commend Mr. Barley and all of his supporters of how they got here today, because it just isn't something that happened last week. This has happened over time, and really a discussion and a real community conversation of why this was important. So Mr. Barley continues to find information. I'm going to ask him to speak soon to some of the activities, some background, but also things that are planned to how we don't just have this as Robert S. Duncanson Day, or we recognize for the month of July here in 2021, but really the opportunity to lay a foundation for where we go in the future, and opportunities how, as a national, international artist, made great impacts across our country and the world, and how we can elevate that here in the city of Monroe. You know, there's a long list, and it's within the proclamation that is available for all to see. But when you talk about the Michigan, there's Michigan signatories, there's national signatories, and then there's national-owned artists. It completely filled the page here. I'm just going to go through those that I think when you talk about the outreach to get support and understanding and partnership. Of course, Mr. Barley is the committee chairperson, and he's also one of our great Monroe artists. And with the Monroe Art League, as many things are involved with it, you look behind me, there's many people that I know are local artists and paint at all the events and have their paintings down at the battlefield today for the art gala that's been going on. You know, the City of Monroe Rotary Club, of course, Dr. Kojo Cortez is the president. The Monroe Art League, Sandra Vanasacker. The Monroe City and County Fine Arts Council, Mr. Tidwell, who's here this evening. The Monroe NAACP, Mr. William Parker, president. I know he's with us here as well today. The Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History and the curator there. All these people were signed and contacted and were wanted to be here or signed by supporters. You know, our business with the Agua Dulce with Tony and Cheryl Trulio, the Downtown Development Authority, who Tony also chairs that, the Monroe Community College with Dr. Corte and Florence Buchanan as a trustee, the Monroe County Museum, Mr. Randy Clark, who here is this evening, Monroe Historical Society, Dora Kelly, Monroe artist, who I know is here, and she's been very passionate and done some great research that I don't think is over yet. There's a Monroe photographer artist, Jeffrey Albergo, the State of Michigan Artists, Detroit Fine Arts Breakfast Club, the Detroit Institute of Arts. I'm going to continue because there's things that are here national and international. I think we all should understand and appreciate the work and the broad, excuse the pun, brush that he painted across our not only our country but the world. The town of Fayette, New York, the birthplace. The Fayette Historical Society, their president, the Seneca County Museum in New York, the Columbus Museum of Art, Ohio Artists Hall of Fame, the Smithsonian American Art Museum in Washington, D.C., the Taft Museum of Art in Cincinnati, Ohio, and of course their presidents and CEOs have signed on and support this as well. And you see how this is going to grow not only here in Monroe, I believe, but how we start to have, I'll say, relationships with other locations when we talk about the future. National known artists, the Adirondack plein air painters, Michelle Burns, Daryl Gable, Eric Koppel, Gregory Summers, and Rick Wilson, just to name a few. So it is my great pleasure and honor on behalf of the City Council to present this proclamation to Mr. Barley. He's going to have to figure out how he's going to share this with everybody and where it's going to go, but I know it'll be proudly displayed at not only the activities that they host, but also the activities that we and they have planned for the future. Patrick, I want to say congratulations and thank you very, very much. So when Patrick and I chatted, he says, do I have to speak? I said, no, he doesn't say have to. Will I? He said, absolutely. So, and I know that he has maybe some introductions. I think it's important. I think many I've made a touch on, but I'm going to give him his opportunity to speak now about the hard work and how we got here today. And I want to thank you again personally so much. Please go.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. On behalf of the Robert Sullivan Duncanson Committee, I'd like to thank the mayor and the city council of Monroe. You've been very supportive in giving Mr. Duncanson his just due. Picture the life of a Black American, a man of mixed race in the 19th century, pre-emancipation, always vigilant of what you say and do, watching your back 24/7. Duncanson lived to be 51 years old, the last 7 under the Emancipation Proclamation. It made him a truly free man. His life was cut short due to the ravages of lead poisoning, common happenstance when you're a house painter. So he probably caught it when he was painting houses. What would he have accomplished had he lived to be like some of his contemporaries? Some of his contemporaries lived to be in their 90s. You all know their names. If you've been into any museum, they're there hanging with him. Now we're going to make him part of those names. Just in North America, Duncanson's works hang in the Detroit Institute of Art. There's a wing there. If you go into the American wing of the DIA, half the paintings in there are just Duncanson. Monroe's Duncanson. He's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the Fine Arts Museum of Boston, the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., the Ontario Art Gallery. In Canada, he's known as the father of landscape painting. He went up there from Cincinnati, spent 2 years, and taught people how to paint landscape painting. So Canadians consider him the father of Canadian landscape painting. His most famous work was the Garden of Eden, and it was purchased by the King of Sweden on his tour when he took a tour over there to show this painting. It is now in the Swedish Royal Museum of Art today. He was the very first fine artist to hold a professional art show in the state of Michigan. Ironically, he was setting up his last show in Detroit to display his newest works of art when he became afflicted with the disease that killed him. Born in Fayette, Seneca County, New York, in 1821, the Finger Lakes region, if you didn't know where that was at, if you've been to the Finger Lakes, that's where he grew up until he was age 10, and just over the border in Pennsylvania. They said that he moved to the thriving frontier town of Monroe. From 10 to 19, he learned, like you heard, he learned his father's trade as a carpenter and house painter. They lived near the corner of 8th and Harrison Streets in the First Ward. It's thought that he developed his love of art when painting the homes of Monroe's wealthy residents, gazing at their art and trying to copy the artist's techniques, which is common for most people who really get into art. You start copying the good ones and you get good. When he was 19, he took the Erie Canal to Cincinnati. The Athens of the West is what it was called, to study with fellow Black artists. He was not allowed to attend formal art schools in Cincinnati because of the color of his skin. But they studied with the abolitionist white students. Eventually, they drew attention of wealthy abolitionists and received his very first commission, like you heard, Michigan's UP, the Cliff Mines in Keweenaw Peninsula. His next painting commission was to paint the walls of one of America's wealthiest businessmen. It took him 18 months to paint these walls. They are 6 huge, they're as big as the panels behind you. And each of them, there's 8 of them. and is now known as the Taft Museum of Art. It is the centerpiece of the Taft Museum of Art. And the Taft Museum of Art endows the Duncanson Artist in Residence. They have done that for several decades. Although revered around the world, he lay buried in an unmarked grave for 146 years in Monroe's Woodland Cemetery. Dora Kelly, a Monroe artist, needed to do something about that. And in 2017, she led a small group of artists, patrons, and humanitarians to bring a tombstone and monument for Duncanson with an etching from one of the DIA's collection. It'll be there long after we are all gone. During the American presidential inauguration, it is tradition to include a work of art by a famous American artist. Like you heard, Dr. Joe Biden, the First Lady, chose Landscape with Rainbow, painted by Robert Selden Duncanson. Now the entire world would know that once again and be able to see America's best Western artist's work. He was called that by the Smithsonian as the best Western artist. That's of the Hudson River artists. Now tomorrow, July 7th, Monroe will see local and regional plein air artists painting in the streets, along the River Raisin, Lake Erie, in our parks, and around town, capturing our local scenes in the inaugural Duncanson Plein Art Paint Out. So one day, you enter the contest, paint as many paintings as you can, and the best ones are picked will win an award, first, second, and third. There are 4 Wednesdays in a row to do this. Each one's a separate contest. And at the end, we're going to judge who is the best of the West from all 4 of the first place winners of the next 4 weeks. This couldn't have happened without a lot of people being involved with this. And I want to thank the people that are here. If you were on the Duncanson committee, would you please stand? It's created a lot of excitement about this. Frankly, when I found out that this great artist was here, it really struck a chord with me. And I thought, we've got to do something about this. This is a man that Monroe can circle around. We can become an art center, like a lot of places. A lot of places like Bill Saul, who you know, loves Paducah, Kentucky. He thinks it's the greatest art center around. We can become a Paducah, but we can become a Monroe first. The Adirondack plein air painters that were mentioned earlier are the best painters I've ever seen, and some of them are in the same level as Duncanson and his comrades back in the 19th century. I know one man is a brilliant painter. If you get a chance to look at these names on this list, Google them and look up their work. Blow your mind. So on behalf of the Duncanson Committee, the Rotary Club, the Monroe Art League, I want you to welcome you to come to Agua Dulce tomorrow, which Tony and Cheryl become huge supporters of this. And that's where we're going to kick off every week. Well, that'll be the starting point. And when they show up, they register, and then they fan out around the city, and they start painting. I belong to the Adirondack Painters. And when they first started that 10 years ago, there were 180 known paintings of the Adirondacks. That was it. After the first year, there was 800. And it's grown like that ever since. So now there's well over several thousand paintings of the Adirondacks. I'd like to see something done like that up and down the river, painting up and down the river. So thank you very much for this great honor. For Mr. Duncanson.
Thank you. Thank you. So as we continue, I think of all the people that are here and all the support and partnerships, and I think of all the emails that we've received from Patrick as we continue to move along. I think it's just a testament to his efforts. And Patrick, I just want to say thank you again. Wonderful. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3175, public hearing for the CDBG Consolidated Annual Action Plan 2021-2022.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on items 3175, the Community Development Block Grant Consolidated and Annual Action Plan 2021-2022. Any comments this evening regarding this public hearing? Seeing none?
And I should mention there are no comments on file in the clerk treasurer's office.
Thank you. Seeing no comments, I'll close the public hearing. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3196, public hearing for proposed ordinance 21-006.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on item 3196, public hearing proposed ordinance 21006 related to Article 3 in the Downtown Development Authority of Chapter 22. I'll see if there's any public comments for those present here this evening. Any comments from council? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 3198, community engagement facilitation, General Custer Monument Project update.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just treating this as a communication item, and I'm trying to find my way to, since we're back in here, I've got to figure out how to work this computer again in the council chamber. But essentially what it is our team initiating the process here, Mayor Clark, myself, Mark Cochran, Andy Clark, who's out in the audience, and Brian Egan have put together the RFQ, letters of interest, and at this point we received 4 of them when the due dates were, and initiated. As we reviewed them, felt that the one that stood out was Estelle Associates, in part because of their background with community facilitation, handling projects related to MDOT, but also there's an academic aspect of it, of which Dr. Stone has dealt with issues related to conflict. And so our thought was that they were, we felt the most appropriate, qualified to go forward with this project. Included in there is kind of a timeline to proceed with it. We did meet with them last week, talked a little bit about the content of them putting a proposal, of which they'll do pretty much for the rest of this month, along with the timeline. One of the things that in the conversation is that this is a project that certainly, they feel could will generate a lot of national interest, and in particular, the manner in which it's being addressed by the city. And so one of the things that you'll note in their proposal outline is looking to secure foundation funding, whether it's in many ways a national foundation. So if council remembers, we've put aside $10,000. I'm going to ask for us to give me the discretion to spend up to 50. And part of that is that when they're going with some of these national foundations, they need to know that we have a little more skin in the game. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend it, but at least there is a commitment to that. And clearly our discussion was having as much of this funded by the foundations as possible. So the schedule that we're looking at is by the end of the month, we'll have a proposal. Our team will work with them, reviewing it. And we're targeting, I think, the second week of August to have kind of an introduction with them so that the community can be familiar with them. And then ultimately, we're looking, I believe, the August 16th meeting for council to approve their proposal and for us to go forward. And really, the engagement would begin as it was structured in the request for qualifications starting in September. And so, we've had a couple meetings with them and are comfortable moving forward with them. I think the community will be very impressed with them upon being able to talk with them.
Thank you, Mr. Pastor. I'll see if there's any questions from council on the communication. And I expect, Mr. Pastor, you will come back later to council with a proposal, or as you said, the they'll submit the proposal, but then also the funding and those items for discussion with council later. Council Michelangelo.
Thanks, Your Honor. Vince, can you, I didn't hear the number. You said an authorization of additional funding. What was the number
Up
again?
to 50,000.
Up to 50.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, when we started with 10, look, we knew that's a low number. We don't do any planning projects under $50,000, and facilitation's a big part of it. Again, I use that number for them to market to some of the foundations that, we're willing to put that sum of money up to it. So I'm not asking for the approval tonight. It'll come with the proposal in August, but just to give you a sense that, and they're already making work. But the other thing with it is they're also going to employ a grant writer. And my understanding, particularly in the academic world, is that it's about relationships and understanding what those different grant requirements are, expectations, what they're looking for. And so this, we think, will get the process initiated and probably have we think, the biggest impact from a community engagement standpoint. So.
Other questions from council? Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. Question about the project team. The project team was just about the selection for the facilitator itself. Is there another committee that's going to be formed for the review and facilitation process, or are we going to keep the same committee, or is a committee not necessary?
Candidly, I think that once they're under contract, we're going to provide assistance. But I think in many ways, it's probably the most appropriate that we keep our distance and allow the professionals to do the facilitation and the community engagement. If we get the right consultant, which we think we have in this case here, that process will work effectively in engaging our community in a positive discussion related to the Custer Monument and what alternatives may exist.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you. Other council comments? Councilwoman Germaini.
Thank you, Your Honor. Vince, with the facilitation process, how will the public be involved in the future?
That will actually be part of what the proposal will entail, but clearly I think, there's different, how should I say it, they're going to look for us to provide some initial names to participate in. And then also from there, they'll do some engagement and probably have obviously public meetings and even some survey information that they may request from the public to help them with formulating the process, if you will. So, that there's a lot more to go with that. And I'm giving you a very general answer, but it's going to be contained in the proposal as to how that outreach will take place. We don't want it to be limited, and I will honestly, I think the mayor looked at me funny and now I'm connecting the dot on it. One of the most interesting questions we had talking with them is, well, how do you define the community? Is that what you were smiling? Okay. And it was a good question. Is it just within the city limits, the kind of just outside of the city of Monroe? Is it the county, or is this a national issue? And in some ways, we can see it far broader than that aspect, and the buy-in is going to reflect what that community would look like. And so it was a very good question, and we kind of fumbled around with it, but that's the kind of depth and I think they're going to be challenging us with through this process, which I think is a positive thing.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Will the public meetings be held during city council meetings, or will it be a separate entity?
Oh, no, I certainly envision these as being separate.
Good,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Council Michelangelo.
Vince, we're going to make sure that we have some representatives from some of the Native American tribes that have during our Zoom meetings came in from the Potawatomi and they came in from the Nottawasepi. So we're going to make sure that we reach out to some of the sovereign nations to ask them to participate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. The process won't be valid without that engagement.
Thanks, Your Honor. Appreciate it.
Other questions?
Again, just a communication item to council tonight, more to come next month.
So I'm just going to make a final comment on it because it is communication. It's information which is in our council packets. It's information that's available not only to council, but everybody that's here, everybody that wants to go and through the item number and review it. And the proposal that came from the EAAA, the Estelle Associates, is attached. If you have a strong interest and you're looking where we're going, I suggest you read that because there's a lot of stuff in the middle that really talks about themselves and their qualifications and things they've done. While that's important, read the first page, which is their opening letter, and read the last page, because the first page really says what they can offer to the city of Monroe, and they do that in a sense of really what they're offering to the community and all the process in which they will take. And it talks about their the persons that were involved with our opportunity to speak with them via Zoom. On the last page, at the end, it says consultants' expectation of the city during the project. And I'm just going to, there's a list of things, but it wasn't like what they want us to give. It's what we put as a foundation. And it says about, and right at the start, it talks about establish and maintain successful working partnerships. Doesn't mean just the city. In some respects it will be, but also with the community. And I think the conversation, as Vince mentioned, about what does define that community, I think will be an important process or an important part of this process as we move forward. And very, very enlightening, engaging, and excited about the opportunity to take on this project. So I'm going to leave my final comments for there. See if there's no others. Just looking, is there a need of a motion to accept the communication, or are we pretty
I
much
think it's just
accepting
done.
through our agenda, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Get this out of my way. Clerk, our next item, please.
Our next item
on.
is item 3185, under council action.
Okay, before I go to council action, I'm sorry, because with our agenda, I'm learning our format as well as the first time we've gone with this new format. When we talk about announcements and proclamations, many of them come from the city, it might be communication, but also we understand there's those that come to the meeting and they want to speak, just as Mr. Barley did, hey, next week or tomorrow is this, and over the next week. Is there any public announcement regarding activities or events? Mr. Leroy, I think I know what you're going to say, but it'd be great. It's a great opportunity to say it now than at the end.
Absolutely. Mayor and Council, Barry Leroy, Director of Utilities for the City of Monroe. I think am I on?
Is the green light on?
Yes.
Just speak
It should be
louder.
Good evening. This year, I'm just providing an update. We're planning on doing our 2021 river cleanup. We had to postpone that from last year, so we'll be able to use that grant for doing that. We're planning on having it July 17th from 9 to noon. We'll be meeting in the riverfront parking lot. It's right behind Agua Dulce and right next to the Knights of Columbus. We will be cleaning from like the IHM River House all the way down to behind the water plant. That's Fish Passage number 1. We'll be handing out T-shirts after the event, and we'll have some food and some prizes. There is a rain makeup date. We're monitoring the river levels, make sure it's safe for everybody. So, but we do have a lot of partners involved. River Raising Watershed, River Raising Institute. The DDA is going to be involved working down there. So we look forward to having you guys if you can make it. So
Barry, I understand there's a couple of our businesses downtown. One was mentioned here earlier, and their participation with the Robert S. Duncanson Day with Tony and Cheryl from Agua Dulce. But I think there's another business downtown that's going to support some opportunities.
yeah, the Amayas will be providing the food. So
Yep. So both downtown businesses partnering with this and helping those that show up. It's a great event. So thank you again for chairing that or coordinating that, and of course with the Commission on the Environment as well.
thank you, Mayor.
Other announcements on any activities that are coming up here in the next couple of weeks? Okay, I see none. Now, clerk, the next item, I'm sorry, is under council action.
So the next item is under council action, and it's item 3185, and it is ordinance 21-006, amendment to the Downtown Development Authority ordinance, up for its final reading.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we place ordinance 21-006 to amend section 22-4 through 22-10, Article 3, Downtown Development Authority, Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities. Place it on the floor for its final reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Eichelangelo, supported by Councilman Felder on item 3185 to amend the Downtown Development Authority ordinance. Mr. Pastu, any final comments before we move forward?
Background on it is that the ordinance is in many ways just a housekeeping update. It's the enabling legislation for the DDA Act 57 of 2018 is stated in the ordinance. The original enabling legislation was adopted in 1975. There's a change with the DDA from board members, two board members from trustees. In the past, they've not been referred to as trustees for quite some time. And then Section 22.7 clarifies the number of directors reflected in the statutory authorization. So the current ordinance is silent. So those are the modest changes related to this ordinance.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman? Yes. Echoangeli? Yes. Vining? Yes. Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-006, Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Article 3, Downtown Development Authority. An ordinance to amend Sections 22-4 through 22-10 of Article 3, Downtown Development Authority of Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees of the Code of the City of Monroe. The City of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Whitman?
Yes.
Echoangeli?
Yes.
Vining? Yes. Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Okay. The next item is item 3197, resolution authorizing the execution of closing documents for real estate exchange.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution authorizing the mayor, the clerk treasurer, and the city manager to execute the closing documents, deeds, and related documents associated with the agreement for exchange of property between the city of Monroe and the Monroe County Fair Board.
Second. Motion by Councilman Eichelangelo, supported by Councilman Lamore on item 3197, the resolution authorizing the execution of closed documents for real estate exchange. Mr. Pastu, I know that we first talked about this back on April 19th of 2021, and anything additional from what we were at?
No, nothing has changed. I think it's just a matter where the title company wanted to see a council resolution rather than the motion.
Very good. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman? Yes. Echoangeli?
Yes.
Vining? Yes. Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
All right, and the next item does not have a number. It will be added later at the clerk treasurer's office, but it's ratification of Teamsters collective bargaining agreement.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we ratify the four-year collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 214, effective July 6th, and authorize the city administration to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Motion by Councilman Eichelangelo, supported by Councilman Lamore, regarding the item on the ratification of the Teamsters collective bargaining agreement. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman? Yes. Echoangeli?
Yes.
Vining? Yes. Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
I have no further items, Your Honor.
Very good. So it is July, so we start back for the seventh month. We start back with Precinct 1. Councilwoman Whitman, comments this evening.
I really have no comments this evening, other than it sounded like everyone had a really good time on the 4th of July. And that's about all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilman Eichelangelo.
Yes, Your Honor. First off, I would like to thank Vince and Jim Green, who's not here with us. He's our labor attorney. I thought the agreement that they came up with, the Teamsters, relative to a four-year contract, and some of the new provisions in there that really significantly benefit the employees in terms of their retirement contributions on behalf of the employees in the city. Plus, the basic overall framework of the agreement was really kind of, was very progressive in today's work environment. I just wanted to say thanks for the work. I think it really sets a whole new benchmark for some of the other collective bargaining agreements that we're going to be looking at for the next couple of months. Secondly, I appreciate the effort that the Arts Council and regarding the Mr. Duncanson. I have always thought that Monroe always had a great arts community, and it's something that we really haven't embellished or leveraged in the future, and I hope we do, because communities that have a strong arts and culture not only provide a lot of vitality and opportunity for residents, but those communities that do that actually grow economically. We kind of forget that the arts and culture are an economic development engine that can spur visitors to our community and employment opportunities and additional revenue to our artists who have definite works of art that they can display. So I really think that this step that was described today about doing the arts competition, I think it's just great. I just want to thank you all personally for all your hard work. So thank you. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thanks, Councilman. Councilwoman Viney.
Thank you, Your Honor. I too wanted to thank Mr. Barley and Ms. Kelly and all of the artists here this evening. When I hear about the creative arts and the fine arts, I always think about getting the children involved. So I'd like to reach out, Ms. Kelly or Mr. Barley later on and talk about what you all are doing with the children, with the students. So, and I know I've asked this question several times over the past year about the naming policy. And I know we've had a lot of big items on the agenda. But if we're not going to institute that, I'd like some direction on how to just make the ask for the specific thing that the request to have the a street named after Rance Allen. The family is planning a big 1 year anniversary. It's been 1 year since his passing, and so I want to talk about how we can get that ball rolling. If I could get with you or Mr. Mayor later to discuss, since we haven't officially adopted the policy yet. And that's all I have for this evening, Your Honor.
Thanks, Councilwoman. I look forward to, as I said, sitting down and chatting about that and another item that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
And moving something forward in an naming policy and how we structurally put that has the, not only the inclusion of here just in council members, but also our community and how that process will work through that we are recognizing as we should be.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilwoman Germaini.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Duncanson's going to put a big light on Monroe and put us on the map, so I thank the Art Council for that. Secondly, I would like a Lazy Boy update from Mark, because we haven't heard what was going on with the Lazy Boy project in a while. And do you have something, Vince?
I don't know where to start. There is a lot of stuff going on. It's,
Well, in the next meeting, maybe we can cover it,
we've,
because I would like to be enlightened.
Yeah. Why if I do this with our subcommittee, I'll run it through, just giving the committee an update where we're at with it. We're already getting feedback from our permit with Eagle, and so there's some decisions that we got to make related to that, the wetlands aspect of it. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's kind of starting again, coming together in a number of ways. So
Thank you.
let's do that. If I may, just do we want to do it? And I'm sorry to ask the question, but we've done them all by Zoom. Do we want to do them in person? Because sometimes there's going to be a lot to go over if we.
Would that be possible, like, as a work session item? I know you have many things on that list as well.
Right.
I mean, we would be here and have yourself, Mr. Cochran.
Well, I'm just thinking with the ad hoc committee, if we just, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm fine either way.
I'm starting to, with my consultancy, I'm starting to travel a lot, so I would prefer Zoom.
Yeah, and I think we could accommodate that, so, okay. We'll follow up with that, though. There's a lot going on, though.
the community, or the committee, I think would be great.
Thank you, that's all, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Great to be back in our council chambers again. It's been a long waited new beginning for us here, so great to be back here. I'd like to thank Pat Barley and his committee for bringing to light what was buried for such a long time. And yes, he was a great renowned artist, and people didn't know that. So thank you for bringing that out and bringing that history where it belongs, right here into Monroe. So I can't thank you enough for that. And I think it's something that maybe we may want to do in the future, where we have some places to acknowledge him with a monument or some kind of writing. I think that'd be appropriate for Mr. Duncanson. Secondly, there's always the bad with the good, and this is the bad. The scooters in downtown Monroe have been, I've been getting a lifeline from practically every person downtown telling me the problems of the scooters. I really want this to work, and I want our community to receive it, but knowing that people are not using the scooters properly and doing what they need to be doing on the scooters, it's very difficult to allow it to continue. They have been told, warned, what not to do on the scooters, and they continue to keep on doing what they're not supposed to be doing. So there's going to be a point in time where we're going to have to make a decision to either get rid of them or continue on with them. And I'd like to have that discussion at the next meeting, a very serious discussion about this, because it was something that had a lot of promise to it, and now it's starting to, that promise is fading away quickly with the way people are operating the scooters. So something to think about. If you're in the public, you ride the scooter, think about the directions they give you and operate them correctly. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
Your Honor.
Councilman Felder.
Thank you, sir. Certainly good to be back. Wonderful showing tonight. I'm certainly privileged from the position I'm sitting in, to be able to work for the residents of Monroe and represent all of you people, because I care about what happens in my community, and all of you do too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here this evening. And it's certainly great that when we have these meetings, that people actually come out. Democracy is participatory and it's collaborative. And so if nobody shows up, it's kind of disheartening in the process. But I think it's a very healthy way forward in terms of the people that are showing an activism within the community in terms of a desire to improve the lives of the residents and the neighbors that they have and the people who live around them. So that's certainly great to see. And just being back in person and seeing everyone is a nice change of pace from all those Zoom meetings, I'll tell you. Cultivate Community happened since our last meeting, and that was a wonderful event. 26 homes this year with teams to match. 20, 27, 27, 20, I'm getting an update live now, live breaking news. Homes this year, so that's awesome. They do a wonderful service within our community, and I know that the city has been a partner in that, and I would like to thank them for that, and Patrick Lewis and the Department of Public Services. Hopefully those dumpsters were sufficiently filled to justify their expense. I think that's probably some of the most cost-effective blight abatement money that we're going to spend. So I really think it's awesome, and we were able to go out and do a lot of work despite some considerations for the weather. Someone who was involved in Cultivate Community, that was involved in the community in many ways, was Mr. Mike Smith. That is now departing his role at the United Way. He has taken a position as the executive director of the Upper Peninsula Construction Council. So congratulations to him. But I think, in some ways it could be a loss for us. So hopefully, we're able to step up as a community and try and fill that together. he was certainly a force to be reckoned with in the community. He was up at this podium receiving resolutions from us for all his good works more than a couple of times, and I just think he deserves some recognition. Stemming from that, in addition to Kelly's comments about the naming policy, the mayor and I have had conversations about the city's policy on tributes and resolutions of support, and how those are passed and the process by which those have happened, and I look forward to having a procedural discussion and perhaps a work session at some point in the future so that we can establish a process about how we're able to put those forward. Some other issues have come up recently that have showed us that our process, for doing that perhaps is not robust enough to make determinations upon, and let's sit down and make that determination together. I'd certainly look forward to that process. Certainly am appreciative of Mr. Barley and the Rotary Club and the Monroe Art Club for putting forward and pushing this Robert Seldon Duncanson recognition. It's certainly recognition he is due for. He was a wonderful asset within our community and remains to be so as we move forward, historical and otherwise. So for all people who were involved in that effort, certainly thank you. That's tremendous. And then I hope to see you all at the river cleanup on the 17th of July. I'll certainly be there along with the rest of the members of the Commission on the Environment. It's an annual event. We didn't have it last year, but hopefully we can make up for what we missed. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. Go ahead.
How do you sign up for the river cleanup?
You show up on July 17th at the riverfront parking lot right next to the gazebo, right near the Knights of Columbus. And we'll feed you and give you a T-shirt and get you wet. So.
Thank you, Councilman Felder and Councilwoman Germaini for the follow-up. So I just have, actually, some of the comments I've had this evening are already stated. I'm just going to make my personal short comment about Cultivate Community, something that's been a great impact here within our community. And I want to thank all those that participate, that form their teams, from labor organizations right on through just community members to those that say, I want to champion a team and come out and support the Cultivate Community, because it does make some changes for the homeowners that may not be able to or struggle to be able to make some of those repairs or aesthetic to make their properties better. So I want to thank all those that participated, and to see how we have 27 teams is great. Now, Mike Smith was on my list for this evening as well. I think Councilman Feller spoke well to that. Mike was, I think I first met when he was doing the ramp projects. He was still doing those, and he is a county-wide person, not just the city of Monroe. He has had great impacts within our communities and in helping, and his efforts are well recognized. But I wish him well as he goes up to Marquette, but yet it won't be in Marquette when he's overseeing the entire Upper Peninsula. It tells you the quality of the person he is and the quality of work he does and his dedication to serving communities. I made a comment during the presentation or proclamation. We have many fine artists, and just several of the many that are here in our community are here this evening. And I want to thank them for all they do and the art activities, whether it be in summer. I see that we'd had painters downtown and that. But one of the items I mentioned was the floral, the Gala of Michigan art exhibit, which is out the River Race National Battlefield Park. Still have an opportunity to go see that and see some of the works of the people that are here, but also some of what the other 62 artists that produce their artwork and have it displayed at the Visitor and Education Center. And you only have until July 11th, and that's when it concludes. So you still have time this week to take a visit, go out, and just, if nothing else, you might learn some of the information from the national park, but also the art is all displayed within the lobby, so you could go in and see that if that's what your desire is. Again, through July 11th. Robert S. Duncanson, the proclamation, I just want to say thanks to all those that participated. I know not everybody could be here, and I think we should recognize the wide range of people that have participation in this. And I know, Mr. Parker, I want to thank you for being here as well this evening. It's great to see you. Please participate beginning tomorrow and through the month in the plein air paint outs. Go watch the people paint, and go down and chat with those that decide to participate and where they may be from, because I know that won't all be from Monroe. They'll be from our region as well, because this is, as Councilman Klein and others have said, this really brings people to our community and shows a light on what some positive opportunities that we have, and looking forward as well as we hopefully will continue not only for this month but through next year. And we have the opportunity, when we start talking about things continue to open up and activities, but also the art fair. And I think this could be a wonderful connection to that, to bring through a weekend type activity. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. I think it's great, as was already said, to be able to be back in person. And I'm glad to see that there's participation and coming here to see and listen through the council and all the items that are on our agenda as well. The last thing I have to say, and it's not the good and the bad, it's just the reality of what it is. I think somebody mentioned it already with the fireworks. I did receive a few phone calls. Mr. Pastu and I did have an opportunity to speak. I spoke with our city attorney, because a lot of people say, well, why is the city allowing this to occur? And I'm not going to go back and give a long dissertation about what the fireworks are as they got passed through the state legislature, as far as what days are going to be allowed, what times will be allowed. But we also want to look at, make sure we're in position best to make sure that we can take care of our issues here locally. And in the question of having an ordinance, the local ordinance, it's really, the days can't change, the times can't change. It is what it is. And that's from the state statute. We can have things that we can put in place to make sure that we accommodate our public as well. And then there's the type of fireworks. It's called consumer grade. I don't know that I can give you an entire explanation of what that is. I from a layman, I think I know what it is, and I can speak to that. But look it up to see, if you wish to understand what that is. But local communities have the discretion to extend more days if we wish to do so. But also, it can also stay in the days that are currently through the state legislature. So the local ordinances that we have them, there's things that could be fined that you can't, and we saw those. I'm sure everybody did. People decide to just go out the middle of the street and light off their fireworks. That's prohibited. You have to do it on your own private property. You can't be on other people's property. And there is a fallback to that. And I know there was some response from the members of the city's department. So I just want to bring it up because Labor Day will not be far off, and we'll be back talking about a fireworks display. So I just wanted to review that for the person that sent me the letter, the person that called me, and the one that I've responded back to for everybody's well-being. Clerk Treasurer Lavoie.
I just have a couple of things. I think tonight is a testament to the fact that we never stopped during the pandemic. The community didn't stop advocating and bringing things to our attention. The elected officials didn't stop. I mean, there's been a lot going on, and being together in one room certainly helps us, I think, really feel what we know has been happening all this time. So I'm happy to be back with all of you and all of the residents, and glad that we were able to work out the technical difficulties and that it's live this evening. And of course, it plays back on YouTube whenever you want. So please feel free. If you have any trouble finding the agenda items that the mayor was referencing tonight, call the clerk's office. We'll be happy to help you find those online, or if that is a challenge, we're always happy to print a copy for the residents. And then finally, I did want to just mention Cultivate Community. I think it's been captured really well tonight, so I'm not going to belabor it too much, but I did really want to thank the organizers and MCOP as an individual team that I've had for several years, and I know there are a couple of others. It was really helpful to have the grant, because it kind of evened the playing field a little bit with some of the larger organizations that participated. And what was nice about that is it let us help our homeowner just as much as some of the other teams. So I hope that's something that MCOP is able to secure again. And just seeing the smile on our homeowner's face was just... She is a person that I don't always see smile, and so, because I know her personally, so it just showed what the spirit of the whole event was about. And I've said this before, but I think we witnessed it tonight with the presentation, also in the proclamation. Our community is an older community, but it's not stagnant. And if we keep digging, we have so many wonderful, wonderful things to turn over. So thanks to the residents for keeping that going, and thanks to all of you for all of us working together and making it happen. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Pastor, any comments this evening?
Nothing else, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments, and so, I'm sorry, Councilman Michael, I'm sorry, please go
One
ahead.
thing, I have one question for Michelle. The state Senate analyzed the last vote and said that there was no indication of fraud. However, the state House is in the process of, I think, significantly altering the voting requirements for Michigan residents. And I know it's going through various committee sessions, and there's provisions in there that I think are going to prevent barriers from people to actually vote. Would you be able to, at our next council workshop, or I would ask Mark Cochran, because he's more involved with legislation, but somebody would brief the council on what the proposed changes are and what we think that impact may be, in case the council may want to weigh in with our state legislators on what they should or should not be doing.
Sure, absolutely. I've been following that quite closely. And I think you've stated accurately what is at stake. There has been, everything is stopped right now, so there's been no further action on it. But there are some things in there that I, as a clerk, am personally concerned with. The Clerks, Municipal Clerks Association for the state of Michigan has spent hours in Lansing trying to get some modifications on some of the items in question. And then there are some other things in there that are, I think, very good and will be a benefit. So it's definitely, it's a lot of bills. It's a big package, and there's some good things and some not so good things. So yes, absolutely. I'll get with City Manager Pastu and definitely can bring that back. And it's a good time while it's kind of at a standstill. It would be a good time to reach out and let the public know what's going on, and they maybe want to reach out to their legislators as well. So sure.
Yeah, and Your Honor, one last thing. I think we talked about cultivate community. A couple of council did. I think one of the founders of Cultivate Community, Jason, is out in the audience. I wanted him, if I'm not putting you on the spot, is just ask you the question, is there anything else the city of Monroe can do to help assist that effort in the future?
Sure.
Since you're here.
Well, I came here to, thank everybody for, all their help, Andrew, on our committee this year, and Michelle's been there since day number one. So, and was happy to see Michelle this year also. So, when we first started, I was wanted to do like an adopted a block, and then it kind of just grew, and in my head after that first year, and Brian Lamore was there. I remember walking around. I was like, "Oh, isn't this awesome?" So then. My ultimate dream would be like a city event. So it's just not one area; it's the whole city. So that's kind of where I'd like to go. Like next year is a city event. So
Is there anything else that we can do besides the dumpsters?
yeah, dumpsters. Next year, wood chippers. I think our dumpsters were just jam packed with yard waste. So if it was chipped down, we can actually, condense that. Also, more dumpsters, especially if we do end up making this a city event, having dumpsters strategically placed throughout the city. So I just want to say thank you to city council, and I appreciate it.
Jason, before you go, Councilman Michael, thanks for bringing it up. I know that Councilman Fell and I had chatted earlier. It probably was time issues to be able to think about how we might implement, and something I'll just say now that hopefully maybe we can think about as we get next year, because as we know as council, we have a neighborhood enterprise zone. A neighborhood enterprise zone is basically areas designated within the community, and if there is, I'll say, infrastructure or improvements to a home, not necessarily the aesthetics with the landscaping, but physical items. Maybe it's steps on a porch, maybe it's gutters, those things add value to the home. What the neighborhood enterprise zone makes it so then the taxable value of the home stays at the current value as opposed to being increased because the improvements made. And I think there's a great opportunity for partnership with Cultivate Community. Maybe something the city can do as far as some personnel to help. It's always about paperwork, right?
Right.
To help that process, but from the Cultivate Community Organization, somebody that is that technical, administrative, paper type person to put things in place that we could go through and say, here's one that's going to have some work being done that will improve the porch or improve something. And then it might be windows. And then if we do that, then they get that process with the paperwork and then get that. So then when it comes back around for the assessment, oh, I see you have a new porch.
Right.
You know, of course, the assessment changes, right?
Right.
So there's ways to sign up and get that done. I think that's another follow-up great opportunity with Cultivate Community for all the great work that you've already done. And we see the results. And I think this is then opportunity for the residents who's maybe struggled to do that by themselves won't be then burdened with an item that of additional cost, whatever that might be from a taxation side.
Yeah, absolutely. Any help that we can, you know,
Yeah.
we can
So,
get would
so
be appreciated.
early conversations so we can get
Yeah,
our groups and maybe help whenever you start organizing. And I think it's a great opportunity to bring that program to fruition too.
Quite honestly, we weren't sure, just like
Right.
everything else, if we were going to be able to do it again this year. So I think in the last, maybe May is when we like, hey, I think we're going to be actually able to do this. So,
I think Councilman Felder let us know that it'd be tight this year, but I think it's something that you know we can be a partner in the ways in which we were, but maybe some opportunities that would benefit some of the community members as well. And those are available through on our city's website as well. What those zones are.
Right.
And so
You did make those maps and those forms available for the participant homes.
yes, great, excellent. So, you know, if there's those that might have that opportunity still now, we would welcome them to come and sit down individually. But I think what a great opportunity to put a big package together on that. So
right,
thanks,
thank you.
great work. Thank you.
you know, Michelle Lavoie mentioned, you know, MCOP stepping up, and Stephanie had no idea what she was getting into. And I told her, I said, you know, we're going to be best friends by the end of this. And then next week, after the project's done, you're going to wonder, how come Jason hasn't called me today? It took 2 days and then she called me. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Michelangelo, was there anything further? Okay, so we're at public comment. So we heard one public comment already, which was an inquiry from the council members. So just be mindful of the rules of the chamber as we have the public comment. Ask that you state your name and address, and also you keep your comments to 3 minutes as we move forward. And please address the council as a whole. This isn't about individuals. It's the opportunity to exchange, hear your points, hear your comments. And Mr. Pastu, if it's something that needs follow-up, well, it takes his notes as well as maybe council members as well. So at this time, are any comments from those present here this evening that wish to speak? I see a couple movement. I'll start with the gentleman in the front. Your name, address, please.
712 West 6th Street, that's where I live. And I was wanting to bring up the agenda of what he talked about, or someone talked about fireworks. Oh, okay. I got a picture. Right here's the thing. I got a picture of when one hit my garage and burned a hole in it. Thank God that it didn't burn it down. So I got the picture right here if I could bring it up.
If you'd present that to the clerk, please. The clerk. Or it's on your phone. You can always forward that to the clerk if you'd like. And then it can be shared with the council.
Here it is. It's a $30,000 garage. My wife cleaned it off a little bit before. Okay, thank you. And there's one more thing I wanted to touch on too about that, talk to Mr. Vince about that statue. Are they gonna move that or leave it there?
That's part of what the discussion,
Rumors, it's gonna move it.
part of what the discussion is how that is going to be addressed. Don't have any preconceived notion one way or the other.
You know, the way I see it, that's part of Monroe. That's been there for years. And, you know, I'm part Indian, and if Indians have problems with it, let them put a statue of Sitting Bull beside of him, you know? You know what I mean?
Everyone will
I
have,
don't have no problem with it. I'm part Indian, my wife is. I guess everybody's got their own opinion.
So that's
And,
conversations we've had, and then we're working through a process of this opportunity to have a full community conversation, and but no decisions have been made at this point. So, okay. Other
And
comments?
there's one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask about the water bills. Why are they ever monthly now?
Mr. Leroy's here, and he might be able to answer that. I know they used to be quarterly. There's a reason it went to monthly, and since I'm not in charge, not the director of the water department, maybe let Mr. Leroy speak to that and why they're monthly now.
Yeah, but,
Okay.
you know, the way I see it is that it's more of a burden on people who have come down every month that pay cash. Every 2 months would have been fine, but, you know, every month, you know.
Well, Mr.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Mr. Leroy, if you could address that, so those that are here and those that are listening, watching, can understand why.
Sure. Mayor and Council,
Louder.
Barry Leroy, Director of Utilities. As far as the monthly billing conversion process, we've had listened to the customers for a long time that wanted to go to monthly billing to regulate, to follow other municipality or other utilities, electric, phone, to go to monthly. So we've followed that conversion process, and we're also upgrading water meters at the same time, so you can see your bills online as well as your usage. We do offer auto pay as well as electronic billing. There's no cost to that, and you can also pay for it automatically. And there's no fees currently charged, so you could sign up for that. I can get with you, Mr. Monday, if he chooses to do that. So, but anyway, yeah, we did that because we were listening to the customers that wanted to go to monthly, and we followed that suit.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mundy, if you have follow-up questions with Mr. Leroy in the water, please, get a hold of him, or he can get a hold of you. And
Just talk to him.
yeah, it'd be great, sir. Thank you.
I don't pay with digital stuff. I usually go cash.
I understand.
That's what I've always.
Okay. Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, I will start. I see there's two more in the back, but we'll start right at the front and we'll work our way there. Name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Reese Johnson. I live on 6500 Stadler Road. I am the founder of PRISM, an LGBTQ+ support group for youth and teens of Monroe County. My peers and I were saddened to hear that the board was unable to come to a decision about flying the pride flag last month. Having the city fly a pride flag says, "We see you, we support you, you are safe here." Studies show that nearly 50% of LGBTQ+ youth believe that they have to move away from their current town to find happiness. I've lived in Monroe County my entire life. I was born in Monroe. I attended preschool, elementary school, middle school, and I am now attending high school and college in Monroe. I've always worked, volunteered, and performed in many theater shows in Monroe, and Monroe was always home to me, just as it is to many other LGBTQ+ youth and adults. My question for you is, are we supported here? Are we safe here? Can we be happy here? I'm here tonight to ask to fly the pride flag not only for the month of June, but also for the month of October, which is LGBTQ+ History Month. I have a petition here with 240 signatures supporting the pride flag in Monroe for these 2 months. We even have purchased a pride flag in Monroe to donate to the city. I hope that tonight you are able to change your minds and saying, yes, we do see you, yes, we do support you, you are safe here. Thank you.
Thank you. Stop, please. This isn't an audience for booing or clapping. When we're in public meetings like this, there's ways to show your support, but we have to maintain this because you can imagine how it could get out of control. So please, I know you can support people, and we can do that with nods of our head, but clapping or booing or yelling isn't for this chambers. Next comment, please. Thank you for your comments. Next comment, please. Yeah, there's two at the same time, but go. All right. Yes, come on. Name and address, please.
Finally, Katie Beth Davis, La Pleasance Road, Monroe, Michigan. Today, I wanted to bring up something to go along with the Custer statue. Over the last couple of weeks, there have been mass graves of Indigenous children's bodies found. They're coming from boarding schools, Catholic boarding schools, the majority of them. And Department of Interior Deb Highland, who is Native, she's announced investigations into the United States boarding schools to see if there are any Native bodies here. So there is I have learned so much history. I thought I knew a lot of history, but I've learned so much history, including like the history of the Mother House and the history of just various things here in Monroe County. And not only, I don't live in the city of Monroe, but my children go to school in the city, and I am a parishioner, a lifelong parishioner at St. Mary's Catholic Church. I've even contacted the Archdiocese of Detroit just because, as a Catholic, I feel like that it's problematic to have these two symbols, the Catholic Church and having, you know, the IHM having a boarding school that started off with 40 orphans and then had a fire a few years later with, you know, not a lot of transparency and everything. I just find it problematic, and the symbolism, it's even more problematic now as there's more children's bodies being found. The other thing I wanted to let you guys be aware of is that we now have the support of the American Indian Veterans of Michigan. So I was wondering if they might be able to possibly be involved in the project as well. I know we do have some Potawatomi, but being that General Custer was a soldier, he does not have the greatest military record. And receiving the support from the American Indian Veterans of Michigan, it really meant a lot to us because it just said that, you know, we respect our veterans, and it doesn't matter what nationality that they are. If they fought for our rights for this country, we have every meaning to listen to them, what they have to say as well. And I also just wanted to thank you guys for giving us the permit for the Custer Falls event. It was very peaceful. We had a food truck. It sold out. There was a lot of people that came from all over, and it was very educational. It was very inspiring to hear some of the ways some of the vets spoke about what they have to go through with daily still. So, and that's all I had to say. So thank you very much. It's glad to see you guys in person finally to do this. So thank you.
Thank you, Katie Beth. Thank you for your comments. Next comment, please. I think in the back or one of the, okay. Name and address, please.
Hi, Dr. Graham Denton, Monroe, Michigan. Yeah, I wanted to start off by thanking the council for allowing me to speak tonight. It's nice to see some of you in person finally. And also, thank you for granting us the permit on the 25th. It was, you know, it was pretty good. For the Custer Falls Again rally, people actually came from the Dakotas. And they did that to educate this community. You know, they also came from the outskirts of Michigan. In the pouring rain, no doubt, to make their voices heard, the voice of the indigenous communities. And, you know, I appreciate everything you guys are doing with selecting a, you know, someone who's going to be a consultant for this. I hope they take into consideration all sides. But I'm here today to remind you that, of course, you know, the voice of the indigenous community, they would prefer immediate removal. And I'm speaking to you directly because at the end you will have that decision. And just to remind you that the United Tribes of Michigan, the 12 federally recognized tribes of Michigan, well, they want the statue removed as well. And they voted unanimously in minutes to support that project of immediate removal. I'm speaking for them today as well. And so, as a community, if nothing happens, if we continue to honor a man who murdered children, you know, I want to ask you, how would you explain that to your children or grandchildren? You know, that this community honors a person who did this. You know, as children's bodies of their relatives are dug up from unmarked mass graves near residential boarding schools right now. That's the attempted eradication of culture, language, and our way of life right on display for everyone. And Monroe celebrates a man who perpetuated atrocities against children, like them, in order, again, to attempt to destroy the indigenous communities of this land. And I'm asking you what you would do, because that's what the people of color of this community have to explain to their children and grandchildren. So how would you explain that to them? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next comment, please. Name, address, please.
Hi, Colbean. I live in the city of Monroe. I use they, them pronouns. Hi, nice to see you all in person. It is very weird, is all I have to say. Happy Robert Selden Duncanson Day, obviously. So thank you very much for creating the day, declaring the day for what a wonderful artist, right? I heard a lot spoken about. I can't say that I knew much about him beforehand, so I'm glad to learn. I would like to hope that all of the wonderful things that were said about such a wonderful artist, and especially the fact that, as it was mentioned many times, a Black artist who overcame a lot during his time, and Black people who still, and BIPOC, Native American people who are still overcoming a lot of hardships. I hope that declaring a day like this is not only wonderful, but symbolic of an effort to change the lives of people of color who are living today as well. And that includes moving things like the statue, or at least considering and having those conversations with communities that are not just white, like 90% of Monroe, the city. So I just want to say, again, as you know, I support moving the statue. I'd also like to, I'm a little shaken, just a little bit, not just because public speaking is difficult, but because I would like to support what Reese has brought forth with raising the pride flag. It is exactly because of outbursts that we just had, where someone says, this is ridiculous, I'm not dealing with this, is exactly why we need things like that. Because people who are in the LGBTQ community face violence and discrimination and hate, and it is scary. When you are face to face with somebody who hates you for who you are or how you live your life is scary. And not all of our laws even protect all transgender people from hate crimes in public spaces. We are asking for that support because it is people like that who need strong city leaders and strong communities who say, we have your back. And if you are attacked for who you are, we will have your back. We will protect you, and you are loved here and you are welcome here. So I just want to say, it's not about a slippery slope where everyone's just gonna raise no one's gonna come in here and give you as poignant an argument for why you should raise a flag about roses or a flag to dogs, because this is about human lives, and this is about children, and this is about our safety and our community to be who we are. And I just want to say that thank you for letting me be here, and that's all.
Thank you, Cole. Further comments this evening? Seeing no further comments.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. Motion from Councilman Colangeli, supported by Councilman Lamore to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Whitman? Yes. Colangeli?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore? Yes. Felder?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. And thank you all for attending this evening.